I don't think most people know where ceramic started, where the name ceramic came about. Because there are meters that are designed to specifically sell a certain product. Carbon particles tend to absorb IR as well. Not every manufacturer makes the same product when it comes to blocking the IR wavelength.
Hello, my name is Jody Knight with American Standard Window Film. This week I have been in the Los Angeles, California office and had the opportunity to catch up with the owner of American Standard Window Film, Mr. Pierre. Pierre, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to come out this week and work with the sales team out here. Of course, we've done some training, but you and I was having some conversation about some deep topics that's been needed to be covered in the window film industry, and that is infrared rejection versus ceramic window film.
Okay. Hi, Jody. Well, good to have you in California. I know it feels weird to be in California, but it's a great place. So
yeah, it's. I've enjoyed it. It's a culture shock to some degree. This is not my first visit out, but a little bit of culture shock. A lot of fast-paced driving, but other than that, it's been a good trip.
Well, glad to have you here. You brought up a very interesting topic, that there's so much misinformation out there. We've heard about ceramic and IR and nano ceramic, and there's so much misinformation that they really don't know what they're talking about. And they say, oh, do you have ceramic film? Well, yes, no. So let's try to address some of the information on that. Let's see if we can cover that. First, I don't think most people know where ceramic started, where the name ceramic came about. The name ceramic was introduced to the window film market by Hooper Optics. It was their original, Hooper Optics, when they first introduced their product, they called it ceramic product. And what ceramic then meant was a oxide film, oxide or nitride. So for the most part, it was titanium nitride. That was the product that they called ceramic because it has the resemblance to it. So
the ceramic term was not necessarily a ceramic particle. It was the forming of two gases that created a similar.
Well, it was the sputtering process with introduction of gas. So it was basically metallic oxynitride. So either you have titanium nitride or you have aluminum oxide. So depending on what you make, in the sputtering chamber, you introduce gas and you change the form of the metal. And hence what it did was it still was a spectroselective product. It rejected or it absorbed a lot of the IR band wavelengths. But it didn't have the metal characteristics, and it didn't have the interference issue that a lot of the metals have. So that's how the whole term ceramic started. Okay, and then all of a sudden, the concept of nanoceramic came about, and everybody started talking nanoceramic. Well, what is nanoceramic? By the way, do you know what nanoceramic means?
Well, nano in its rawest form is just it's a measurement, right? It's a size or a measurement.
If I'm not mistaken, and we could correct this, I think it's a billionth of a meter is nanometer.
A nanometer, correct.
Yeah, it's a billion of a meter. By the way, trivia information, if you want to know what's the size of a nanometer, it's the length of your fingernail growth in 1 second.
Oh, wow.
So that's a nanometer.
That's very interesting.
So just to put things in perspective. So the current IR, nanoparticle, nanoceramic technology uses components that are grounded down into a powder form of about 20 nanometers. So that's why it's called nanoceramic, because it has a similar function and characteristics, but it is in powder form, and it's used in either coating or it's used in extrusion process. That's it. There's no other way.
Explain that. So through my career, I've heard different products being an extruded product versus, a coated product. Is one better than the other as far as it being uh, a ceramic or IR film?
Well, you cannot. You're talking about the IR family or in general?
Just in general.
Well, the difference between extruded and a die bath is a completely different discussion. So let's defer
We'll save that for another time.
another episode. But there is you cannot, unless you're extruding, you cannot put IR components inside the film. You can coat it, but you cannot put it inside the product, the film itself, inside the PET. So it depends on what you're trying to get at, and there are different ways. Some companies extrude the product with nanoparticles in it, and some use coating. So it depends, and neither one is better than the other. It's just how it's done.
Will one give you better performance than the other?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. It's what nanoparticles. So let me address the nanoparticle part. So again, when people talk about different ceramics and ceramic pluses, and I mean, I've heard every possible terminology in the world, and to be honest, I crack up. There aren't that many. Most companies either use CTO, which is cesium tungsten oxide. They use ATO, which is an antimony tin oxide. There's ITO, indium tin oxide. So there's these components that are actually used in powder form, and they're used to create a coating that absorbs the IR. Now, each of these components that I named, whether it's CTO, ATO, ITO, there's LAD, so depending on which one you use, it has a different wavelength of absorption. So I'll say that, and we can come back to that, because that's a whole different discussion as well. So for example, CTO absorbs anywhere between 800 to 1200 nanometer wavelengths. ATO absorbs anywhere between 1000 to 1400 nanometer wavelengths. LAB lab absorbs 700 to 1400 nanometer wavelengths. So depending on what wavelength you're trying to block in addition to rest of your product, you mix, combine, coat any of these different nanoparticles to come up with the ultimate product.
So we're getting to the IR. So there's a couple products, and we are introducing one last week actually with our new Carbon Ultra and Carbon Ultra IR that really has some very good IR specs. There's a couple other manufacturers, or a brand rather, that's introducing one this week, I believe, that's got 99% IR rejection. How was that IR rejection achieved? Like we'll use ours for an example, the Carbon Ultra IR with a 95% IR rejection in comparison to a ceramic film. Of course, all of these fall in our ceramic family, of course, but that 95% IR rejection, how was that actually achieved?
Well, most companies are trying to find ways to either block or reflect IR. Right? I mean, this is not a secret. So when people talk about this is, once again, I'm going back to the terminology, ceramic. It's ceramic, it's nano-ceramic, it's this. At the end of the day, almost everybody's talking about the same product. So window film industry for automotive rarely uses the original titanium nitride technology because it is hard to install. You have the micro cracking, which is commonly known as ghosting, while you're shrinking, and it takes much longer to dry. So most people don't want a metallized, sputtered titanium nitride for their automotive window film.
And you said that the titanium nitride, that is a older technology.
I'm not going to say it's an older technology. It's still used in flat glass. It's not suited, in my opinion, as well as a nanoparticle ceramic coating
for automotive.
Yes, for automotive, because you can easily shrink and without have the issue of micro cracking or ghosting in the automotive window film, where in flat glass you don't shrink, so you don't have the same problem.
Right.
So the new technology, anybody who's blocking IR there's, for the most part, and I'm going to probably go on a limb here and say 99% of the industry, they either use one of the components I just mentioned, CTO, ATO, ITO, or one of the combination. There is some kind of a metal in the film. For people who don't know, a regular aluminum or a high performance film blocks 45 to 50% IR. So even if you have metal, automatically you're blocking IR. It's just not spectroselective, and it reflects everything, IR and heat and
Right.
visible light. So, but it still does reject IR. And the third that's used is in the carbon particle form or a pigment formation, where carbon particles tend to absorb IR as well. So there are companies who use combination, different forms, but once again, at the end of the day, the recipe is almost the same. It's not that different. So if somebody comes out and says, we have the latest technology that nobody else carries, and we have this IR, well, they don't even call it IR. They call it super nano or whatever.
Right.
We'll see what new term.
A catchy buzzword.
Catchy buzzword, and then of course ceramic. It's pretty much the same. So at the end, everybody's trying to block IR. At the end, everybody's blocking the same wavelengths for the most part, and just very slight differences in technology.
Now, through my years, to achieve a higher IR, I've always understood it's more layers or coating throughout the layers. Is that fact? So for it's like our Carbon S has got 40% IR cut all the way up to our Carbon Ultra IR with the 95% IR cut. What process is used to achieve that higher IR rating?
Well, let me not get into the details of it because there are some proprietary technology we use. But bottom line, yes, if you want to have a clear product, you tend to use more layers of IR in different format to get to where you want the product to be. So yes, one other thing I kind of wanted to add in the IR family, I just said something that I don't disagree with myself, so I'm going to correct myself. Not every manufacturer makes the same product when it comes to blocking the IR wavelength. So depending on what product you use, you could be blocking a very narrow IR band or a wide IR band. So people ask, what does that mean? You know, it says it's blocking 99% IR. And again, I don't know about that product, so I'm not going to make a comment. I'm just going to say a general thing. You can very easily come up with a product that blocks 99% of a narrowband IR wavelength. And that's not difficult. But what it does is, if your heat comes through, let's say, a wide range of IR wavelengths, imagine you have rain coming through this wide of a spectrum, and you're blocking 100% of the rain of about this much. Right. It doesn't mean you're not getting any rain through. All it means is for this part that you're blocking 100% of the rain or 99% of the rain.
It's a very specific spot in the solar spectrum that is being metered.
Correct. Again, I'm not judging any other product at this point. Sure. I'm just saying for tinters, they should look at the wider spectrum. They should try to read and understand when it says it's blocking XYZ. You need to understand what is it blocking, and before assuming it's the best product. Because there are meters that are designed to specifically sell a certain product, because that meter will show you the best possible number. Right. Because it's only measuring, that meter as well is only measuring that particular narrow band. Right. So it's a little bit more complicated.
So kind of circling back to the original question, ceramic versus IR, essentially it sounds like it's a whole lot the same. The ceramic was just a buzzword that was kind of created from the very beginning that was doing exactly what IR is doing, and that's how we are identifying it.
Well, it's like ceramic is the bigger family, or I can't, to be honest, really say it. To me, it's very intermingled, because when you're talking about a ceramic film, it basically you're implying that you're blocking IR wavelengths, whether it's wide range, narrow band, it doesn't matter. You're by saying it's a ceramic film, you're implying that you're blocking IR wavelength using one of the components I just mentioned,
Right.
a nanoparticle product.
Right.
That's it. You can sugarcoat it, paint it, change it, color it any way you want. At the end, you're still talking about the same product.
Good.
Now, the technology is improving in one major category, and that's clarity. Because nanoparticles, unless it's the dispersion in its liquid form and its powder form into a liquid form is done properly, it's going to coagulate, and it's going to be, instead of small 20 nanometer particles, it'll become bigger, and that's when you see the halo effects or when you see glare. So that's why you look at the first generation of IR products or nanoceramic products, they tend to have a much higher haze factor to it than the products that are coming with the newer and newer generation, because the dispersion process is much more advanced. The particles are smaller. So at the end, you get a better dispersed product, a dispersed nanoparticle product in your coating process, resulting in a much better clarity. So that's the big difference. But to answer your question, I yet to see a product that's called ceramic or nanoceramic or super ceramic or whatever, and they're all using a very similar process.
Right. So if you was to leave our audience with one thing, as a past shop owner, what would be the one piece of advice you would give me or a shop owner about what I need to look for in a IR film that's going to give my customers the best opportunity?
I think no matter how you look at it, clarity is important. So a lot of people go for the super high numbers and they try to sell that to their customer. The higher the number, the harder the product is, and the chance of having haze gets higher and higher, increases. It's just how it is. And I'm sure within not too far in the future, we'll have technology that will give us the ability to have 100% IR block without any haze, but I think we're not there yet. So I would really look at the clarity, because at the end of the day, your customer wants a product that's clear and it's not hazy. So that's important. Then I would definitely look at a supplier that's consistent and everything else with it works. Because if you have a product that's not hazy and it has really good IR block, but your adhesive is not good, or you cannot shrink it well, or supply chain is not proper, your warranty is not in place, and I mean, then it becomes the rest of the product. So at the end, a ceramic film is still window film. So you need to make sure you choose the product that really serves your customer the best.
If there's anything else that you guys would like to ask questions on, I think this is a series that we are wanting to continue to do with other topics. I know this has been very informative. We've talked, kind of behind the scenes earlier in the week about this very thing, and it really was intriguing to me. And when we decided to do this episode, so if anyone has any other questions that you guys would like to ask or comments on this particular topic, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be glad to help you with those things. We have some other ideas that we're going to be putting forth with some of the episodes, so stay tuned for that as well. Pierre, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity and to be here, be part of the team. I am really excited about what the future holds. I've got a couple customers across the country that they asked why ASWF, and I was like, I'm excited about the future, and that's what impresses me the most is you've not been afraid to step outside of the box of what's normal to truly set the standard for what window film is supposed to be. It's not just what has always been, it's what we're going to become, and everybody else is going to follow the leader. and setting the standard. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all that you've done for the window film industry. And I'm looking forward to continuing these episodes, and I know others is going to be as well.
Thank
So
you. And
thank you so much.
good to have you as part of the family.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for more.